Hey guys, how you doing? Mr. Extraordinary over here. I hope you're good. All right, let's get to the next one. So, Superman is one of my favorite characters of all time, and by characters I mean superhero characters. Um, what makes him so special? Well, I guess you could say that he is the definitive superhero. What do I mean by that? I mean, he was created at a time where some of the comic books that we had at the time were just either romantic comics or horror comics, you know, or cowboy themed comics. So this superhero genre, I mean, I think it was there, but it was not so prominent. So when he arrived, I mean, he just changed the entire thing. He changed the game. And in as much as we don't, you know, um, give him too much attention like we used to back in the day, I think he is still one of the best superheroes of all time. I mean, he has so many aliases. He goes by the name of Clark Kent, Kal-El, or what's the other name? The Man of Tomorrow, the Man of Steel. Sometimes I think they call him Soups, if I'm not mistaken. So there's quite a number of aliases that he has. And when you look at some of the characters that have been introduced in his world, you have characters like Jimmy Olsen, who's the photographer. You have Lois Lane, who's the journalist. Perry White, who's the editor in chief of the Daily Planet. You have Crypto the dog, who was recently voiced by Dwayne the Rock Johnson in I think it's the League of Super Pets. You also have Supergirl. Um, you know, so it's crazy. Like there's so many great characters that came from there. You have Lex Luthor. You have Lana Lang, Pete Ross, Ma and Pa Kent, Jor-El, General Zod, Brainiac. Um, you know, so Doomsday. So he is quite a great character, whether we like to admit it or not. Anyway, so why am I even speaking about him? There's a documentary that was released a few years back by Warner Brothers that basically just documents, or rather focuses on the timeline of the superhero called Superman. From its inception until I believe after Brendan Routh's tenure as the superhero. So basically showing you how Jerry Siegel and Joel Schuster started drawing this character while they were still in high school, to how the character was bought by what would later be called DC Comics, and how um, this character evolved, gaining powers. I mean, I remember initially they said that he was faster than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Um, but then when Max Fleischer did a cartoon serial of the character, which had great animation, by the way. Animation that probably still rivals some of the animation that we have to this day. And I think that animation was probably done in the 1930s. But anyway, Max Fleischer was, and he had Fletcher Studios, Max Fletcher, or Max Fleischer. He had Fletcher Studios, which was rivaling Disney at the time. So he had something called the rotoscope, which basically could capture live action footage, then basically draw on top of that to with 2D characters. And yeah, that's when they created Superman. And if you have the chance, check out those Fleischer cartoon Superman. I'll share a link so that you can check it out. But you'll also see it in the documentary that I'm talking about. From there, you had a few actors that played the live action version of the character. You also had radio serials. I think there are a million something listeners the first time that they had to, like when America had to hear a Superman story the first time on radio. I think there was maybe probably like 50 something million listeners at the time. Then you had someone called George Reeves who portrayed the character and was so popular that I mean he was even doing commercials as Superman or Clark Kent, serial commercials. He also featured on what's the show? Well, let's just say he was with Lucille Ball. I think it's I Love Lucy. He was featured there, um, and then sadly, um, mysteriously passed away. To this day, we don't know how he passed away. But I don't want to give too much, and obviously, in the 1970s, we had Christopher Reeve. Um, thanks to Richard Donner, who made us believe that a man could fly. So also they just show you how they got to Christopher Reeves and how Margot Kidder got involved as Lois Lane, and from there, they show you some of the sequels. Superman 2 that had Terrence Stamp as General Zod, then Superman 3 which had Richard Pryor, and then as it goes on, to the TV series. I think it's Superman: The Adventures of Lois and Clark, that had Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. Also, the death of Superman, which was quite big. I mean, it even featured in big newspaper. Like the newspapers actually covered that story of the comic book, and it goes to Smallville, and goes as far as to explore, Bryan Singer's Superman. I think it's Superman Returns, where Brandon Routh portrayed the very same character that Christopher Reeves portrayed, with Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane. And it also had James Marsden there. So yeah, it basically just covers the life of Superman, from when he was being drawn by these two high school kids, to him being in blockbuster films, basically, as a character, and how influential he is as a character, to a point where he inspired another comic book company back in the 1930s that created a character called Captain Marvel, who would later be changed to Shazam, who's currently played by Zachary Levi. But at the time, Captain Marvel became so popular that actually he became more popular than Superman, and that became a bit of an issue with DC. So, but like I said, I don't want to give too much away. I think I already gave too much. I apologize. But if you're still interested in checking out, please do, so that you can learn more about the character. So yeah, this is a documentary about Superman, Kal-El, Man of Steel, Man of Tomorrow, The Last Son of Krypton, how they introduced kryptonite, to the mix and so on. So yeah, I mean currently, James Gunn. I think it's been rumored that James Gunn is, looking for a candidate for an actor who's gonna portray Superman and Superman Legacy, because he's currently rebooting the entire DC EU franchise. So we'll see who he's gonna pick. So Henry Cavill unfortunately has to hang his cape and give another person a shot at the character, and let's see what happens. Let's see if James Gunn is going to be successful. I mean, fans still want Henry Cavill as Superman. I think there's so many things that we are robbed of. We wanted Man of Steel 2. We also wanted the Batman film, where he is fighting with Deathstroke. But maybe they might do that. Maybe they might do an S-World film. But we'll see. It's all up to James Gunn and is it Peter Savrin? And David Zaslav, I guess. So yeah. Anyway, just check it out, man. Check it out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, man, to whoever you think might be interested in learning more about um, comic book characters, superheroes, and all of that. And I will try my best to attend to your comments. Maybe not all of them, but as much as I can. And I'll definitely see you on the next one. All right, cheers.